by just giving us an overview of your position, your room,
Yeah.
what you've seen from them in the spring?
Man, they've done a really good job of really just buying into the culture we're trying to set and competing. The one thing I have noticed has really stood out is they've been doing a good job of improving every single day. Made a huge emphasis on focusing on the little things as far as where your eyes are supposed to be in pass pro to where they are in the run game, whatnot. So really from that standpoint, a lot of growth. Really pleased where we are from there. We obviously have a long way to go still, fundamentally, especially in pass pro, but where they are right now, they're in a pretty good spot.
You see a lot of diversity of skills in your room. A lot of guys can do different sorts of things, and you'll mix and match.
In a way, yeah. Probably less diversity from player to player, but a lot of the guys that can do everything. I feel pretty good about two or three of them, really three of them, that I feel like can do everything, catch out of the backfield, block, can run, are strong on contact, yak yards, or just being able to make a guy miss. So it is really unique from that standpoint. You got three guys that you feel like you never have to take off the field, and you got a couple others that are really still developing that additional skill set. But really not so much diversity, but really three guys that are probably the full package.
You got a guy from Florida, Merritt,
Mm-hmm.
who probably just got lost in the shuffle with some outstanding backs in Gainesville. Comes down here to play his last season. What have you seen from him so far?
Really the first few months just trying to find his place where he fits in. In the beginning has done all the things you want him to do as far as just coming in, learning it. But really where he's really started to stand out here recently is his leadership ability. Now that he's gotten more comfortable, he's gotten to know more of the guys on the team, really stepping up from that standpoint, not just in our room, but also with the whole offense and the team. You see it a lot in practice, in the team settings, in the competition settings, in the scrimmages. You know, just with the ups and downs that you have throughout practice, he's always one of the guys that are there, is motivating people, cheering people on, picking people up when they seem down, and sometimes lighting a fire under somebody's butt when that needs to be done too. So from that standpoint, it's been great. As far as his talent goes, he's extremely intelligent. He's got a really high football IQ, so he's had no problem picking it up, and really understands what's happening up front. In the run game, understands the schemes, where it's supposed to hit, and in the pass protection, really understands blitzes and safety rotation and where pressure can be coming from. So it's been really a joy from that standpoint to have him. He's been a great addition to the room, especially with the leadership ability, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
When it comes to running backs, I think fans look at the position sometimes, and it's all about how the guy totes it. But in your standpoint, you're looking at pass protection, blocking, and receiving, and all these other characteristics that's why they get on the field, not just their ability to run a straight line. Could you just speak about the versatility that you seek for a guy that you're going to put on the field?
Of course, yeah. I think, especially in today's game, with it becoming more of a passing game, the days of where all you do is line up in the I formation and just tote the rock 40 times is over. I played in those days, and they were fun, but the reality is not where we are. So you need a guy that you really don't have to take off the field, that can do everything. Running the ball is obviously a prerequisite to play running back. It's probably the number one, but you have to be able to protect the quarterback as well, keep him clean and comfortable. And then if you can also catch out of the backfield, whether it's just throwing you the ball from the backfield or lining you up in the slot, you know, in some empty formations and throwing you the ball, you want to be able to do all those things. Especially with our tempo, subbing isn't something that you do on the regular. You know, on a normal slow down huddle offense, you can be in personnel packages in and out. You may have a package for this guy 5-play set and this guy 2-play set, but with our tempo, how we play, you really need a guy that can do everything. So what I'm always looking for is somebody that can obviously tote the rock, create on his own, but also be able to not just protect the quarterback, but also understand where the blitzes are coming from. And then if you can also catch out of the backfield, you know, that's a bonus. But more than anything, those first two you have to be able to protect, and that's really one of the big sticking points for us in our room. We talk about being 100% on pass protection is one of our core values, and it gets graded every day. So the ability to be able to keep the quarterback clean and comfortable and knowing where it's coming from is crucial.
Is there a characteristic that will steal your heart if a running back does it well, that you look for, that catches your eye?
Explosiveness. Just an initial burst through line of scrimmage, you can really tell the difference when they see the hole and you see that initial burst. And really short area quickness. 'Cause, you know, we live in such a tight box at running back. Being able to change direction in a short space without losing any momentum and going forward, those two things really, if I see those, you've really caught my attention off the bat.
Coach, Golish told us about being part of like 3 or 4 year ones. I don't know how many year ones you've been a part of in terms of like a rebuild and a program, but have you, and what attracted you to this?
Oh, yeah. I've been, let's see, every year in college football, I've been a part of year ones my entire life. So with the exception of when I got to Ohio State as a GA, came in year 2. But everywhere I've been, year 1 has been a part of it. So I've had a ton of experience with that. A lot of work that goes into it, but it is fun being on the flip side of it when it does get flipped around. And then give me your follow-up question.
Just what made, when he called and said, hey,
Yeah.
Tampa, what made you say, okay?
So me and Coach Golish, we've known each other. We met back in 2020. He actually hired me at the school up I-4 when I was at JMU, and then when we all went to Tennessee, took me with him as a senior analyst. So we've stayed in touch pretty well that year as a senior analyst at Tennessee. I spent a lot of time with him game planning, especially on those Sundays, a lot of hours just me and him in his office watching tape. So just got to grow and got really close. So when he made the call to me, it was really a no-brainer. I've always believed in him and everything he's done and what he stands for philosophically, how he sees running a program, how an offense is run, just how you build a culture really fits who I am as well. So it was really a no-brainer from that standpoint with him. On top of that, I've known a little bit about South Florida. Have always kind of watched it from afar, and I know that this place really is a gold mine, and it has all the resources you need to be successful, and it's also been done in the past. So there is a track record of success here. So knowing what Coach Golish can do, what he brings to the table, how he builds a program, in addition to what this place is and can be, really was an absolute no-brainer for me.
You've got some guys, some veteran guys who've played a lot of college football. Ideally, is it something where, you talked about it's kind of hard to alternate in and out of plays with the tempo you run. Will you go by possession? Will you go with the hot hand in terms of your tailbacks?
Yeah, it's really hard. Again, the game has just changed so much, especially with the tempo. Really playing one guy a whole game for 12 games, hopefully 13, 14, virtually impossible. His body will break down. So you generally want to play with a pair and a spare. It's usually what I say. There's 2 guys that are probably playing 80% of the snaps. You'll find time for a third guy to find his way in there. It really is kind of hard to rotate 3 guys at running back and get them in rhythm. But you're going to want to play multiple guys. How that rotation works really just varies. By possession is hard to do because if you go 3 and out, I'm going to want that same guy to go back out to try to get into the flow of the game. With that said, ideally, somewhere in the first 20, 25 plays of the game, hopefully I had both guys in and they both touched the ball at least once or twice just to get into the flow of it. So you got to play multiple guys. It provides longevity for them for the season, keeps them fresh. But also in the run game, early on in the game, everyone is hyped up, everyone's fresh, the defense is fresh. A lot more 4-yard runs, 3-yard runs, 5-yard runs. As the game goes on, those runs get bigger as the defense gets tired. So if for my guys, the defense's 80th play can be his 40th play, that's an advantage for us.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're looking for in that room, any players that have stood out to be that example?
Yeah, really a bunch of them. Obviously Naquan Wright and Kelly Joyner have stood out. Michael Dukes, extremely talented, has stood out as well. K'Wan Powell, who I know is coming off an injury, is really growing. He is extremely talented, still developing in a lot of ways. As a runner, is pretty good, developing in pass pro, but he's got a really, really bright future. And there's been some young guys as well. Really a guy like Yesias Young, who's a walk-on here, who's caught the eyes of some of us.
Kind of skip over the next 2 practices, but Friday you kind of have a game-like situation. Just what are you expecting? Are you excited to see them kind of under some lights and on a stadium playing?
Yeah, for sure. Always excited for them. Family, friends, fans, alumni, whoever, to be able to come out and for them to be able to kind of put on display the hard work they put in the last 3.5 months, 4 months. So I'm really just looking for them just to execute, to play fast. And I tell them every day, the very last thing I tell them when I break the meeting is just to have fun. Football is meant to be fun. So Friday, get a chance to really just let loose and play the game of football that you love in front of people and just do what you do.
Kelly Joyner's a guy who's played a lot of football here, and he's had certainly some times when he's gotten in space and made a lot of things happen. He's overcome some injuries. Going for his last go-round, he's an older guy with a lot of experience. What can he bring to the table, not only with what you see on the field, but just the mindset that he has after going through all the ups and downs that he's gone through?
Yeah, The fact that he is a veteran, he knows what it's supposed to look like. He's very confident in himself. Granted, he's has very high standards for himself, but he is really consistent day in and day out in how he preps. That's really what stands out the most about him. And I pointed out a couple of times to the guys in my room and some other guys on the team, he's probably had the most successful spring ball, if you want to say it, just because of how he prepares. When he's not in study hall or in class, he's studying ball, taking care of his body. So he really, from that standpoint, that veteran presence has really brought a lot. So that consistency piece is what I'm hoping rubs off on everybody else.
And when, you've coached a lot of schools, been around a lot of coaches that have come and gone. You mentioned your time in Tennessee where you hooked up with Coach Golish. What was it about him that made him different than all the other guys that have come and gone in your life that you knew that, hey, this is a guy I'd like to work with, and he brought you here?
Yeah, he's real. I know what I'm going to get every single day with him. And at the end of the day, all we ever want, in my opinion, is people. But I know in the game of football, the players feel that way too. You just want somebody that's real and consistent. And, the slogan he says, be who you say you are, is not just a slogan. That's truly who he is as a person. And whatever you say you want to be, just be that, be consistent, so at least people know what to expect. The ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of one day I'm a happy guy, the next day I'm a moody guy. You just have to be consistent in who you are so people know what to expect. So I've always appreciated around him. I've been obviously around some really quality coaches, and he resembles some of the best ones I've been around. So that, coupled with the personal relationship, plus Alexis, his wife, and my wife, Brittany, know each other as well. Just the family aspect of it, working for him was, again, no brainer. Matter of fact, when he called, I already knew what he was calling about. So just said, when do you want me to come down?
Quick call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you're somewhat familiar with this program and all the assets that are here to make it great. What in your mind, what's the biggest thing that needs to be done consistently here to get it to where it needs to go, for staff, for players, for everybody, to get this football program elevated?
Yeah, I think with anything, alignment from the top down, from the administration all the way down to the student managers who help set up the field on game day or in practice. Like, everyone has to be going in the same direction, pulling in the same direction. There has to be a natural respect for each other, knowing that if something is messed up, that I feel confident in myself to be able to tell you this is wrong, and for you to feel confident enough to know that I'm not attacking you, but we're all just trying to go in the same direction. When you have that alignment, you allow each other to be accountable. So from that standpoint, that's the number one piece of it. And the other piece of it, just of anything else, for players, just to know that you believe in them as more than just a football player. The best places I've been around, some of the most successful players I've either had myself or have seen, even myself, and I think back to my coaches, it's been people that have genuinely cared about them more than just what they can do, in that 100-yard box. So showing them that love, having that alignment from the top, all that coupled together, pushing in the same direction is the piece of it. And then obviously the resources as well. I know probably not supposed to talk on this, but whatever. I know we're building this on-campus stadium that's coming up. Something like that will be crucial for recruiting as well. Where the game is going, things like that matter. You know what I mean? So you're going to need those types of things as well. So, but you see the alignment from the administration, the commitment to success here with something like that, with this beautiful indoor that we're standing in. So things are going in that direction. The alignment is there. Now it's just a matter for us all to do our job every single day.
So, it's been proposed for 2026, which seems like, that's a few years, but it's closer than you think. So when you're recruiting, the guys bring it up to you? Do you sell it to them? I'm sure it's part of every conversation, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it just naturally comes up. You talk about it, facility. They talk about the IPF. It's beautiful, and then you say, yeah, right there. That's where they're going to build a new stadium, and you kind of leave it at that. How much detail you go into it, they probably don't care. But at least just the idea that, hey, we are building our own stadium and a facility that's going to be right across the way.
Is it for guys that could time-wise roll right into that? Do their eyes get big? Is that like a...
Yeah, they hear that, and they like the idea of that, So when it has come up, I haven't had anybody say whatever. I've had all the recruits say or parents say, oh, that's really neat. Can't wait to see what that looks like.